Yeah, we're live. Welcome to Coffee with Traders, episode 2.
Season 2. Season 2, episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. By the way, the quick Coffee with Traders, we do it Wednesdays live now at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what's so fun about Coffee with Traders is this time around on season 2, we're dealing with live events as they're unfolding in the markets, how it affects everyone, how traders are responding to it, right? And how we are navigating the different ups and downs. And there are ups and downs, by the way, right? Oh boy. So that's what's fun about this live stream Coffee with Traders. We also talk about, how our personal lives are affected by all this as well, because that's what traders, go through, right? We're not just in the office all day. But just quickly introduce everyone. This is the key. This is the ambassador, the rogue. I'm the bullionite, and this is the mad Bulgarian. And we are all from the show Candlestick Men. Candlestick Men is a series on YouTube where you get to see the behind the scenes of trader life, where the life in our office, all how we train and what markets we're taking, the ups and downs, the big losses, the big wins, right? The arguments, the drama, all that. That's Candlestick Men. Okay, we did season 1. We did 8 episodes, I think, with the finale as well. You guys can go watch that. Season 2 is coming up, but live stream is happening now. All right, guys. So, the big topic is yesterday's ceasefire, right? I have some things I want to say about that as well. But I wanted to ask you guys, you've seen the fluctuations in oil, right? And we've done a lot of little shorts about it with the bullionite moment, all those things, right? What do you guys think about this 2-week ceasefire? Give us kind of your perspective on this and the markets. But don't just talk about the oil market. Let's also talk about the stock market, because a lot of our viewers and our clients are in the stock market as well, on their own as well, right? We do alternative assets for our clients, which is physical gold, silver, different kind of metals, real estate, crypto. We do all that. But what do you guys think?
For me personally, I'll start us off. Well, right when the ceasefire got announced, we had our thesis of the possible situations that can happen, the possible scenarios, and just so we can better understand how to navigate the markets, like you said. And once we saw that the ceasefire was finally achieved and no more killing should happen and all that stuff, there's a inner peace that happens, of course. But there's also a logical side to it where you start thinking about if it can hold and how long it will hold, how it will affect each market. So today we saw that since the ceasefire has held, the stock markets like the Dow and Q and the NASDAQ, they bounced up pretty aggressively. The Dow, I believe it went up 1,300 points. So that was a pretty good balance, a good, nice movement for those markets, for those people who are in those markets.
But do you think it's real though? Is it a dead cat bounce, or is it how do you perceive it?
So it depends. If you're going to think it's a dead cat bounce, that goes with the thesis that you think that the ceasefire is not going to hold. But if you think,
did they already break it?
See, now there's conversations now of different prime ministers and different presidents saying that, there's already some points that have been broken, or this will happen that will, affect it. Like, for example, the tolls on the Strait of Hormuz, or who can go through.
Well, more important than that, they don't want bombing in Lebanon.
And they already did.
And they're already bombing in Lebanon. So that's a big point of contention, right? Yeah. Between the two big parties involved.
Yeah, so the U.S., they're saying that Lebanon wasn't in the agreement of the ceasefire, but Iran is saying that they are in the agreement of the ceasefire, and that's why they're attacking them. And then I think Iran wants to respond back with strikes.
Well, the question is,
I don't think the ceasefire will hold that much.
Okay. Are you seeing that in the stock? Are you seeing that kind of reaction in the stock market?
Yeah, I think so,
we're live. Welcome to Coffee with Traders, episode 2, season 2.
Wow.
Technical difficulties. I'm sorry.
Apparently it's us guys. Times 2. You're lucky. Wow.
So I think today, after seeing the strikes on Lebanon, I think we saw the oil bounce back up a little bit, and I think it's holding right now. Mm-hmm. So we could see it move back up on oil, and then
but here's the interesting thing, right? when we knew yesterday this ceasefire is not going to hold.
Mhm.
Like even when they announced it, and oil dropped $20 in 15 minutes, and I saw some of you guys run around this office all like freaked out, right? Like, come on, let's just admit it. It's fine. Let's admit it. Everyone was freaked out. But you saw me sitting in that chair, like relaxed, thinking I'm watching the sunset maybe, or like maybe the approach to sunset, because it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't going to hold, okay? But let's talk about that. That's a little different. But here's my question. In the morning, it was proven that the ceasefire was not going to hold, right? There was like bombs in Lebanon. Actually, the biggest attack, I think, that happened in the last 2 weeks in Lebanon happened today in the morning, right? And then we had the statement from Iran. Then we had all the conflicting statements, right? But why did the Dow still stay up 1,200 points? Why didn't it come down big?
So I have a couple thoughts on this, on that specific notion, because in the morning I was watching the press briefing from Caroline Levitt, right? And she said something interesting. She said the notion behind this ceasefire, right, or behind any ceasefire, implies that initially it's temporary, right? And so that I was thinking about that behind the psychology of our administration, right? And so when you think about the United States being in a position of power, always, right? That position of power wants all of their needs to be met and none of the needs of the aggressor to be met, right? So talking about two specific points, right? Iran wants to keep their enriched uranium, and also Iran wants to charge tolls on the Hormuz Strait, right?
Okay.
So behind the psychology of an investor, right? As an investor, I'm thinking, okay, if the ceasefire is temporary, but Iran is not going to give up on the tolls that they want to charge, naturally, the U.S.'s only option is to join in on those tolls, right?
Which is what they said today,
exactly.
right?
And so
Okay.
that makes me think that from that perspective, if it becomes, instead of a ceasefire or an end to the war, our administration joins in within Iran on this business venture, it becomes more of a business partnership.
Wow.
Well, he
bro.
did
It's like a
even say that.
strategic alliance.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying. I like that. So that's why you're saying people or the market's not selling off today.
Yeah.
Because people are thinking, even though this ceasefire is not going to hold, but the movement towards a strategic alliance is going to be real.
And so because of that notion, I believe that some investors may be thinking, specifically for the equities market, that if we have a strategic alliance, right, even if the ceasefire doesn't hold, that's not a problem. Because if somehow, in some way, a deal ends up, coming forth where a strategic alliance on the tolls for the Hormuz Strait, comes about, then nothing else is a problem. Because Iran gets what they want, the U.S. gets, extra revenue from this, and then everything fixes itself essentially, right? Now, the one problem comes down to the other part of this war, which is Israel. Now, that's a different story because Israel wants a very specific thing that the U.S. doesn't necessarily care about, right?
Interesting, man. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. That's what you're doing. What you do for a living, This is nice. It's great stuff.
I have a question for that actually. I'm curious to see if Iran will allow for the U.S. to take tolls on that. Because after bombing them for all this time and all that stuff, will they allow them to continue? Because then the question comes.
This is where you're right, because I get where you're coming from. By the way, that's why you're one of our traders,
Yep.
right? For Bullion Night, like Bullion Night Asset Group, right? So, and Bullion Night, the company. But I like what you just said as well, because it could be where the market is really mispricing the animosity these nations have for each other.
Mhm.
You get it? Like, I really think everyone needs to understand this, okay? The big problem with this war, which is what it is,
Special
right,
operation.
is that one of the parties, right, doesn't really understand the other party's psychological base. And this is something very important when you build big portfolios, when you do big trades, when you're trying to protect your money, right? Or find out another trade that can go up significantly. You need to understand the psychology. I call this the psychology of money, okay? Now, here's why I say this. If you watched the progression of the negotiations over there, right? It was a basic lack of understanding of old Persian culture. You get it? They're not just going to give up or allow something to happen when their leader, who they've been bowing for so long, was assassinated. You know? They're not going to give up their own screwed up way of how they see the world just because you attack them for 30 days.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Now, I actually do not think, I may be wrong, I do not think that there's going to be a joining or a strategic alliance on the Strait of Hormuz. What I feel is the reason why we have built up such a big military presence there is to actually do the opposite. And we're bidding time to get there, right? So how will the markets react? Right now, the one thing that we can learn from, you see, all of trading is pattern recognition, right? One of the things we can learn is, hey, if you see a big drop in oil yesterday, don't get scared and sell. But look at ways on how to buy, because it's not gone away yet. But if you see oil go up a lot again, like it did, remember over the weekend, 117, 116, don't start buying oil because it'll get hit. So this is what we want to educate the public about. Don't believe the headline and then the market movement that is influenced by the headline.
I have a question.
Yeah,
go on.
Do you think the U.S. wants to take over the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, that doesn't matter. What I think about that has nothing to do with that, right?
Yeah.
But how we analyze the probabilities of that.
Mm.
I do not think that we would have amassed this much over there and then let them toll booth the Strait of Hormuz. I do not think that's a reality.
Well, that's the only justification to allow them to have gone there, because now at Congress, well, one of the representatives said, "Why did we enter this war? Because nuclear weapons and all, but if when we went in, the Strait of Hormuz was open, we're not paying tolls or anything. Now we're leaving. Now there's tolls, and we're not.
I get it.
Lose,
So it's funny, right? Like, and it's sad too because of everything that's happened since that time, right? Like a lot of.
So I have a question, and this question is actually for Val, because the thing is like we're all very in tune with the price action, right? Or allegedly, because we watch the market often, right? Val is like actually
the mad Bulgarian.
Yeah, or sorry, yeah, the mad Bulgarian.
The mad Bulgarian.
Yeah, the mad Bulgarian. Yeah. When it comes to like a psychology perspective, right? Because like we all try to mix both, but you have like more of a pulled out view of the market, right? So like when it comes to something like a strategic alliance, which I was just talking about, right? Like from like a retail standpoint, right? From a guy sitting on your couch, right? Which that's not what you are, but
sure.
Just from that perspective.
From a retail
The guy
perspective,
sitting on the couch.
and I am sitting on a couch.
Yeah.
Right, so you're right.
But like, you're drinking your morning coffee and you're seeing this happening on the news right now, right? Like you know our administration's personality, and you know what Iran wants and their personality.
I don't think there's going to be no joint venture, man.
Okay, but
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because we just went in and took Venezuela's president, bro. Like, we're not. Hey, do you mind if we change the regime? No, man. We went in the middle of the night without anybody knowing. Multiple accounts of witnesses saying that whatever military force they used some supersonic weapon is nothing like they've ever seen before. So you want to talk about follow the money, right? The black budget tech. They multiple account witnesses. You can Google this and look at this yourself. They came in really swiftly. They've never seen anything like it before to the president. So do you really think that they're going to spend the billions of dollars they've already spent on this deal to go down there, like Makarim was saying, like the Bully Knight was saying, to go down there, amass this military presence, and like, oh, you guys want to charge a toll? Okay, I guess that's okay. Nah.
But what if they get a part in that toll? Because then it becomes essentially like a business positive for the United States.
I can see that happening. I can see them getting a piece of the toll, but I don't think that's just from a probability standpoint.
Here's the interesting thing about that, right? and it's, the viewers will benefit from this. This is a lesson in business, right? Trump loves business. He's very transactional, all that, right? He's done some great stuff and also some controversial stuff, right? But at the same time, what you have to understand is you only do business with people you trust. I can tell you 1,000%, we don't trust Iran. So we're not going to do business with them. That's not going to happen, right? The United States of America and the people who run it don't trust Iran. So I can't see that happen. Like, they can talk about it. This is a lesson in markets, guys. This is what's really cool about this show, right? Everyone learns about how you do this. This is a lesson in markets. There's a veil. What's behind the veil? What's behind the wall, right? It's what's behind the price action. Because you can assume, people can come on TV, pundits can say this, government representatives can say this, but in reality, you got to look at the psychology of the market, psychology of business, psychology of money. Okay? So one thing is you don't do business with people you don't trust. Or you don't make deals with people you don't trust. Because usually when you make deals with people you don't trust, what happens? It breaks. What happened to a ceasefire? In less than 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
You made a deal with someone you don't trust, that's what happened. Here's the next thing. In business, because we're entrepreneurs, right? We're investors, we're traders, right? You don't make business or deals and then have firepower arranged 2 miles away. That already tells you don't trust the business transaction.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we have now, right?
But despite my perspectives on the key, and my positions on him, but I do
Bro,
see.
You should see the positions
I
on your
should-
socks right now.
I
They're a
should
little
see-
low, buddy.
I should see. See, I was gonna
Hey,
support
can you
him
lift
right
your
now.
leg up so we can show the audience?
I'm not lifting my leg
He
up.
wanted to support
Let me
you.
show the socks, please.
Well, yeah, but that's a
You
lesson
had
for the audience right
detachable
there.
socks.
You started off with saying you don't do business with someone you don't trust. You don't start off a compliment with a negation. Like, you don't say,
Well, I wasn't
despite
gonna
my
compliment. I was gonna
but that's like saying, like,
Tickle your
if Trump was
thesis, you know?
talking to Iran, that's like
Tickle
saying,
your thesis. I want to tickle your
Bro, that's
thesis.
a t-shirt right there.
That's a t-shirt.
I want to
tickle your
his
thesis.
face.
Yeah.
His face on it. We can do a monochrome of his face.
Yeah.
Guys, merch store coming soon.
So
Tickle your thesis.
He
Well,
tickled
that's
a
an
lot
idea,
more than
right?
just
Yeah.
face, that's for sure.
I have a few different ideas
Yeah,
too.
but that's like Trump saying to Iran, "Hey guys, I know how bad of a people you are,
But he does that.
but
He does that.
Let
like,
me tickle you.
yeah, but let me tickle you. Let me tickle your oil straight. You know,
Oh, he
Well,
wants
like,
to tickle. He's
that's
tickling
what he
you
did.
straight right now.
He literally goes, "We took everything, we destroyed them," and then he goes, "But now we have a good deal between us." Like, it's
But
like
here-
it's
and here's
hypocritical.
the thing, though. Like, at the end of the day, what else is Iran gonna do? Or what else are they gonna do? Like, Trump was so close to bombing them off the face of this planet. Like, they're in a tough spot.
They have human chains around power plants. That's not good.
That's
That's not good.
I
In
saw
no
that.
world is
Yeah.
that good.
I mean,
Okay.
it's really sad because you have
Yeah.
these people that are like,
That's
dude,
sad.
our whole, we're gonna have hundreds of thousands of maybe millions of people die if you bomb these installations. It's
So that's the
Crazy.
world we're living in right
Yeah.
now, which is weird to
It's a
say,
little
right? It's
depressing.
2026. It's not like 1970s or 1980s, right?
Yeah.
Like 50s. We're in 2026, and this is what we're living in.
we have internet, we have Netflix.
So what we have to do? What does that have to do?
We didn't have that in the 70s.
No,
bro.
we didn't have that.
We didn't have that in the
Okay.
70s.
But that's funny. Yeah.
That's just
but-
a distraction, bro, from the real life shit.
the rat race, huh?
Truth, bro.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It is. That's why they have so many series, right? On Netflix and all these other channels, they keep releasing series so they can just hypnotize the public into the black mirror.
See, by the way, anyone who's been with us for this long right now in the live stream, I just want to say the Mad Bulgarian has a series on Candlestick Men called Follow the Money. He's the resident conspiracy, like rabbit hole guy who goes everywhere and finds what he can. Because, by the way, we're, as traders, we believe in looking at all different forms of information, right? We're not closed-minded. So this is why his series is really, really cool. It's called Follow the Money, and it happens on Fridays, right?
Friday.
Every Friday, it's a short. Later, I feel like that'll develop into its own longer
Yeah,
format
we'd
series.
love to do it longer.
Yeah, I think it's really cool
because we
because
can do like a deeper dive and
Deeper
get more
dive on these
facts
things.
and really educate people.
so now.
I had a question.
Yeah, go on.
So, to stimulate our minds instead of tickle your thesis, but to stimulate your minds, Trump has been throwing around NATO quite a few times of leaving NATO. The EU didn't step in, all that stuff because it's not their war, etc., right?
Yeah, but it's NATO. It's the
I understand why. I understand 100% understand why. But from his perspective, we're thinking in the administration psychology and how they deal with things. If they partner with Iran, which will be very impossible because
There's no
very
trust.
unlikely, because of the trust, because you can't bomb somebody and go hug them afterwards. It's not how it works, But if they leave NATO and they get into a new agreement with Iran, not only will they have the control over all the liquefied natural gas and the oil, they control almost everything at
Who
that
controls?
point. The U.S. If they have partnerships with Iran, they have partnerships with the Saudi and the Arab Gulf region. At that point, the EU will be forced to buy gas from the U.S. because most of them aren't going to buy from
Interesting.
Russia. So at that point, you're going to see maybe a deal arise between U.S. and Iran
Well,
if the U.S. gets out.
I mean, when you said you can't bomb someone and hug, history has shown it completely different. Japan, everyone's hugging
I
each
got
other.
That is
now.
a very good point right now, too.
Yeah, so that's been that's happened before. You bomb people and then you go hug them and then you
Yeah.
form relationships
look
like
at
this.
Japan, right? But
Yeah.
but here's the thing, and what's interesting is that in the name of national security, the Department of War recently lifted a protection ban on the rice whale, who is found. It's a species of whale. There's only 50 rice whales left in the Gulf of America. Okay,
Wow.
Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. And that's and the reason for that is because the last major BP oil spill that happened, I think it was in 2007.
I traded oil during that time, just like I trade oil now.
Yeah, so during
BP.
that time,
BP
that
oil spill.
the BP oil spill killed about 33% of the remaining rice whales. So now there's only 50 left.
So these are whales.
These are whales. Yeah.
Okay.
So now, in the name of Homeland Security, they've lifted the ban on drilling in the Gulf of America because what was keeping them from drilling farther was the rice whales. So now they gutted that, and now they're going to start drilling even more in the Gulf of America, which is going to open us up to more susceptibility to oil spills and other dangers.
Yeah.
And I mean,
But it also makes us energy independent. Like, look at it during this crisis. Okay, I know I'm going to get some hate mail on this. Okay, but listen, man, we need energy independence as a country.
Venezuela, bro.
Okay.
We just took over Venezuela. I mean, we
Well,
just
We're not saying taking over the country, but I'm saying having more drilling. I mean, God willing, we can do it in a more environmentally safe way. I know there's enough arguments on both sides, but to be able to say we don't need oil from another country makes us very strong.
I completely
Okay.
agree, but to eradicate a species,
I'm
from
not
the
saying
face of this
that's not what I
planet-
said.
Well, then the
No, I know
argument
that's not
would
what
be
you said,
humans or
eradicate.
whales. Then the argument somebody would tell you is humans or whales. Because
Well-
that's at that point it comes down to that. 50 whales or millions of people in the U.S.
Look,
I
it's
mean, the poor whales. We're not talking about. Like,
Yeah,
We don't. We
I'm
want the
not,
whales safe.
I'm not an environmentalist, okay, and I'm not a specialist on oil drilling. But from a retail perspective, as you were asking me earlier, looking at this from the guy on the couch perspective is like, they're going to kill the whales so we can save a couple of bucks on gas. Like that's ridiculous to
That's
me.
not the story.
Well, and-
Kill a couple
Yeah,
whales.
but-
No, it's to become energy independent. We should have more drilling, more ways of becoming strong. So we should go from a position of strength all the way to another position of strength, not to go to a position of weakness. So that's what
I
this
hear
is.
what you're
I'm
saying.
not saying
Big
kill the
oil,
whales.
I
No,
hear what you're
by the way,
saying.
we love whales.
Yes,
Not saying
we
that.
love whales.
But you shouldn't look at like drill more as let's kill whales to cut $2 in gas. I don't think that's what this is about.
Okay, but I can understand Val's perspective because it's not just about the whales. It's about where does it oh, yeah, I understand the Mad Borgilian perspective on this because it's not just about the whales. It's where does it stop, right? Because
Well,
let's
that's
say
exactly it. This
because
is how
let's
they
say
start.
they kill these whales, right, through these drilling, but then they're like, oh, okay, well, we already got rid of the whales. Let's go further, right?
Well, yeah,
let's go
man,
further and further.
There's,
You know?
there's a
That's the
book
thing, they're
on
removing-
this,
they're
and there's
removing
a
guardrails.
Yeah, I
Like,
get
have you
it.
ever watched the Lorax?
Lorax? Yes, I have. What a movie! I have kids. I've watched
Yeah,
it. I love
exactly.
the Lorax.
Those trees, you know, they
Yeah.
started by cutting down one and making one need, right? And then they cut down the
I
whole forest.
Look at the
Get it.
civilization
I
that came
get
up
it.
though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it
The
was
civilization
But
was
with
able
no
to
air.
the civilization,
With no
but they
air.
charged
Capitalize
That's
it.
the movie.
capitalize the air. We live in the capital.
He's such a capitalist
Now,
guy.
now, one thing I will say is because there's only
There was
50
no air, bro.
because
I
there's
haven't
only
seen the
50
movie.
because there's only 50 of these whales left. It's not like you're going to be breaking down the whole ecosystem. I get that, but it's still like
It's gonna have
Adam,
a huge
but like
effect,
Adam
yeah.
pointed out. This is the first step in what happens next. What about let's go
That's
more
what's
in
like.
Alaska.
That's what's great about.
Screw the endangered bear population, whatever they got going on up
Exactly.
there.
So what if they relocate them? Would that be okay?
Bro, how are they going to relocate
Chevron,
a species
Exxon,
that's used to live?
hire this guy.
Yo,
Yo.
no morals.
All of the big oil companies go straight to him.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, man, I don't know. Take some DNA samples so you can revive them later in a couple of hundred years when.
I guess so.
That's
I mean,
a
it's
good
not
topic for all the
our.
money.
It's not.
Right.
You know, we just can have opinions, right?
Yeah.
That's what's beautiful about the United States of America. You can have your own opinion. You know, there can be arguments, but I do believe we should get stronger as a nation every time,
Same.
right?
I
Energy
agree.
independence is a big deal for that, right?
Save the
Energy
whales,
independence
man.
is a big deal. I remember, like, you know, a while back when the Kuwait crisis happened, right? There was a lot of issues, you know, thinking about, hey, how can we get oil to the United States and things like that. Right now, you know, all this is happening. Yes, the downstream products are affected, fertilizer, agriculture, all that. But in reality, in oil, we're not really worried about it, which I love. I love that, you know, that's good. But oil prices will go higher because it's a world, right? Like oil is a global commodity, okay? This is a deeper story, okay? I mean, we're not going to break down everything today. Before we finish up, there's a few more minutes left. Come on, guys. We can't finish up without talking about the trip to the moon.
Oh,
We went to the moon.
Yeah,
We went to
yeah.
the moon, right? Like, I mean, this is the first time
for real this time.
that,
Oh.
like, well,
Really?
this is the thing, right? We went. It's beautiful. The pictures.
We just circled
I
around,
watched
right?
the whole live thing. Like at night, I would watch it, right? Because this is a great thing for me. Because last time we went to the moon, I wasn't alive, and I would hear about it, right? And this is the first time that a younger generation and an older generation, right, are together, where we have witnessed us going back to the moon.
But hold
Come on, talk about that a
Now,
little
did
bit.
they land? Did they actually land?
No, they didn't. They're going to land in in 2028.
Then
So
we
we-
haven't
so we
been.
didn't go to
Then
the
we
moon,
haven't
we
been
just
to the moon.
Bro,
Stop
we
by
went-
the moon.
We went on a
Look
snow
at it.
No,
It doesn't count. You have to
you know,
land.
this is the weirdest,
That's
bro.
because the Zeti,
The fact that-
the Zeti reticuli were the little
You
grains probably
drive.
didn't allow it.
You would have probably driven 20 miles this whole week or 50 miles this whole week. This is a crew of 3 Americans and 1 Canadian that went 255,000 miles.
Yeah, it's incredible.
255,000 miles,
shots of the
right?
moon, too.
And they went the furthest than any human being has ever gone from home.
For free.
Earth
For
is home.
spending all that gas.
And then they went around the
They didn't
moon.
buy it.
At the closest point, they were 4,000 miles away from the moon. Like if you think about from Florida to Maine, that's like 3,000 miles or something like that. I hope I'm right, right? But you know, so we were a little bit further away, and we're looking at the moon and the far side of the moon. Let's not discount that.
Well,
No,
Come
I thought
on,
it was
let's not
amazing.
discount
Okay,
that.
the
so-
pictures
guys.
were beautiful.
So tomorrow I'm gonna drive to the parking structure and then leave. I'm not gonna come into work tomorrow. I'm just gonna come in.
What
and
does
then
that have to do with that?
I didn't do any work. I just came. I looked at the office. And I
Oh
left.
my God, the amount of scientific
We went to
research.
the office,
All right,
right?
so it is, right?
The amount of research that they did, just how the human body is when we're going through this for the last 6 days, right? And you know, with God's blessings, hopefully they'll come back safe because they're on their
I
way
think they already
back
came back.
Friday. No, see, this is how lost you are.
I was
This
too
is
busy.
how lost you
Listen,
are.
bro, I'm too
They're
busy.
landing
I'm researching the
on
right
Friday
right now. Okay,
at
I've been
5 p.m. Pacific
I'm
Standard
trying to
Time.
save the whales. And
I'm
the
trying
They're
to- I'm trying to
coming
get into that
into
with
the
you.
atmosphere
I have to
5
blame the
p.m.
whales so I can
Pacific Standard Time.
We should
manipulate
watch
it
it.
correctly.
Friday,
Okay.
okay? They haven't landed
I
yet.
swear I saw something. There
Th-
was some recovery on it.
That's why you do follow the money
Yeah.
and not
Where are they
watching
landing?
the
though?
astronauts.
Where do they land? Like in the
Uh,
ocean? And-
Yeah, ocean. Yes, it has to be, and it's in the Pacific coast.
Oh.
It's a little bit away from San Diego. That's kind of where they're.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, we
Cool.
already sent a ship. The
Nice.
ship's waiting for them.
We could get there.
We should
We
go
can-
watch it.
We can see
We can
it.
watch it from anywhere. By the way, you're so lucky you live in Southern California, right? That you can actually watch the re-entry. Like you can see it
Oh,
coming.
really?
In. Yeah.
Cool.
That's what I'm saying.
From
Let's
Southern
go.
California.
Let's go watch it. Like let's actually go there
Yeah.
and watch it. You know.
And
not
after
just-
that, they'll get taken back into the ship, and then from there they go to Houston, I think, and then they meet their
I
families.
wonder
and
if they'll be
things like
taller. You know how
To
they
get-
say like
To
people
get
will go up.
debriefed. To
Tall
get
and
debriefed. Okay, guys, you didn't see any.
You
of
didn't
this.
Now here's the question.
Yeah, they come back
Here's the
taller.
question.
Coming out of
Do you
the
think
crater.
they saw
Where'd you go,
aliens?
bro?
Yes. Do you think they saw
Without a
aliens?
doubt, bro. In fact, the pictures from the dark side of the moon, there's already images out there that show there were lights. There were lights on the dark side of the moon. People have pinpointed. You can Google this and find it for
Humans on the
yourself.
moon.
Not AI doctored. So it's out there, guys. I mean, there's already videos from NASA cutting feeds that show like actual spaceships moving.
You really think so?
Whoa.
I've seen it with my own eyes. If I show it to you, you guys would be like, "Oh my god,
He's the conspiracy guy. He's the conspiracy
it's out
guy.
there." If you look hard enough, it's out there.
Normally, me and the Mad Bulgarian don't always like
I agree.
agree on the certain conspiracies. But this time, I have some sort of understanding with this because I feel like there's already humans there. You know how, like, for example, like VR
There's already humans where?
on the
Where?
moon.
Like living on the moon.
Not necessarily living, but
Oh my
researching.
God.
You know how, like, the VR.
Oh my
Just listen,
God,
just listen
okay,
to me.
hold on.
Listen to me for 1 minute. Let me cook.
We'll entertain this.
There's a secret space program that they talk about where there's a lot of witnesses that talk about this. We have space. We have bases on the moon already. On the
You
dark
think
side.
they're not
Maybe.
gonna try and go and explore something new? You think the richest people in the world, seeing where the world is going right now and how there's bombs and all that stuff, you think those guys don't have plan Bs, exit plans? That's the first thing,
They absolutely do.
for sure. The second thing,
They're already building bunkers down in New Zealand.
they reached
Especially-
out to me to go as like among
New
the.
Zealand and the moon are
Yeah,
two
yeah,
different
yeah,
We're
places.
talking about bunkers. We're talking about
No,
bunkers
that's
and-
to repopulate the moon.
New Zealand is not another celestial body.
That'd be so cool. I'm not gonna lie. But
Mopping with no
you know
gravity.
how, like, for example, like VR technology and like all this AI, like sonic headphones, all stuff for like the military. Dude, they've had this stuff for a long time. ChatGPT, all that stuff. They've had it for longer times until it gets released to us.
I agree. AI, they've had it for a long time.
So they research these things on the moon before it comes to us, and when they're ready and they start sending things, they have to be prepared. They
No,
have
you
to
got,
be.
you got a point for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
They could be up there.
Let's
Yeah,
end
it could be
it
okay.
on that note. Okay. So go on.
One last thought.
One last
Okay.
thought. Okay.
The amount of taxation that being in space
So
has
before-
on the body is ridiculous. Okay, so have you seen people come down from the International Space Station? They come back looking like zombies,
They
right?
can't
So-
walk.
though.
They can't walk.
No, they can't walk. Their bones are reduced. Their skin is all.
But that's what
droopy.
we're learning.
It's a sacrifice
Yeah.
they're willing to take.
Of course, this is a sacrifice they're willing to take, but that's only after like 3 months or so. So if you think that humans are on the moon for like years
Well,
upon end,
so that
but
way
see,
the
But
research
hold on,
comes in.
Here's where your logic is flawed.
Yeah, you come
Because you are going off of the data set that you have that's really been released to the public.
Mm.
There's a whole separate data set that's not released to the public that has technologies, atmospheric pressure technology
about
to
that, did
keep
you?
people pressurized like they would be on Earth. I mean, look, there's research that goes like when a woman goes underground for like up to 45 days without sunlight, she
Mm.
stops ovulating. There's like a lot of different things that happen. One of the most resilient species on Earth is forgive me for not pronouncing it, the pterodactyl. It's a little microscopic little bear looking thing that can withstand nuclear blasts. They sent it to Mars and they put it in Martian soil. The thing that can withstand any kind of nuclear disaster on Earth died within 24 hours on Mars, in Mars soil, which really threw scientists for a loop. They're like, oh my gosh, if that creature didn't survive on Mars, how is a human going to survive on Mars?
Mhm.
To your point, but again, we're using a publicly released data set.
Mm.
If you believe in the secret space program, if you believe in the military black budget, they have technology that the public doesn't know about. So that
So what this proves
Good point.
is how open-minded we are.
yes,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Now that doesn't mean we believe all of this stuff that you're saying, but that's
I
why we
believe you.
have a department like this, right? Where there's the follow the money. This is what helps us become great traders, guys. To become great traders and to help people, right? You have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to look at a calculus that's different from what you're thinking is going to happen. And that way you can make a good trade an extraordinary trade.
Tickle your brain.
Tickle your brain.
took me to pieces.
Stimulate.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you
Guys.
very much for joining today on a live Coffee with Traders. Just to let everyone know, there'll be a Bullion Night Moment happens on Mondays, which is a short where I go over like a global idea of the markets. Then Learn with the Traders, where we go over actual trades that we're taking, in the markets on Wednesdays, right?
Wednesdays.
And then Follow the Money happens on Fridays,
That's
where
it.
he goes like you just witnessed this
Yep.
this wealth of knowledge, right, that goes into the rabbit hole. But overall, what we're about is helping people understand the craziness in the markets and how to navigate that, and the behind the scenes life of traders, the ups and downs, right? So thank you for joining us. And then next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m., join in on Coffee
2
Live
p.m.
Coffee with
Pacific
Traders.
Standard Time,
Pacific
5 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. Boom. Thanks, guys.
Oops.